Today we talk about Square Enix once again. I really appreciate the last video that you guys have left some feedback on, where we talked about how Square Enix is just dropping JRPGs after JRPGs, you know, from the summer all the way up into the holidays, which I'm looking forward to. Well, I wanted to continue to talk about Square Enix because we also got a confirmation that Square Enix will not be, I guess you would say, ditching their AA titles, which we already pretty much got a pretty good idea of that with the last video that I've done. Well, they kind of like doubled down once they were asked questions whether or not they would pretty much do away with that. So before we even dive into this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive into this article. It's from Automaton. They pretty much had asked a few questions of whether or not that their strategy about their new game plan regarding how they approach game design moving forward, and they were asked a specific question: will they do away with AA titles or even indie titles? And they gave their answer. So we're going to dive into this article. It says Square Enix is still working hard on indie/small scale games, and CEO says, and I'm glad for that. I mean, small scale games are definitely necessary in the game industry. These games pretty much fill out those those empty spaces as we wait for those big titles, especially AAA titles. It's always those games in the middle, the indie, the smaller, the AA titles that pretty much hold the gaming industry together. They're the glue that keeps everything in line and keep everything in order. So it says in the past fiscal year, Square Enix saw a 70% decline in net profit and posted an extraordinary loss of 22.1 billion yen after abandoning previously greenlit projects that were deemed unprofitable. This was followed by an announcement of a big change in policy, including a focus on quality over quantity and regular AAA releases. And we covered this before. I covered this on this channel. Once they reported the losses, they pretty much had to ask themselves, okay, what are we doing wrong here? How are we going to make this new approach into becoming profitable again? Like I said, man, like I've grown up with Square Soft. Well, they're Square Enix now, but I've grown up with this company, and this company was synonymous. When you seen their logo, you knew you was in for a quality experience in terms of JRPGs. Love their JRPGs, and I just want them to do better. I want them to go back to what they used to be. And I know a lot of the original talent had left, created their own studios. Some probably may have retired and stuff like that, but I think that there's still some talent here, especially if Square Enix decides to allow the new generation to come in, because this new generation grew up playing these games, so they're big fans. I think they give them a chance to actually work on these titles and produce some good quality titles. I think the company would do very well, and of course do away with the DEI, you know, and all this other type of Western nonsense they've been adding into their, you know, that's infecting, you know, their branch and everything like that. And I think they'll do fine. But as we continue, it says, while this new midterm business plan did include mentions of mid-class titles too, emphasis on high quality and AAA titles caused people to wonder if Square Enix would be focused solely on their major IPs at the expense of smaller, more experimental titles. In the recent shareholders meeting, Square Enix CEO Takashi Kiryu addressed this concern. Yes, when it comes to these smaller titles, Square Enix was known for dropping out some gems especially back in the day. Like I said, Alive, we finally got the remake of that as well, but that was an original title back then, which never came to the United States at all. But the fact is that they had titles like Alive, Secret of Evermore, and the list goes on and on of those titles that were so obscure or whatever. And Square Enix, if they continue that trend, if they continue this moving forward, I think it will work for them. Because like I said, I like the Diofield Chronicles. I think it was a pretty good AA title. I mean, it didn't get the recognition it deserved, but it was a step in the right direction, and it was a way to bring people into the strategy JRPG genre. I really loved Diofield Chronicles. They did a good job with that. And then of course you got Octopath Traveler that released 1 and 2, and many people had fallen in love with that. And then they remade Front Mission 1 and 2. Part 2 had just released just this year. So they've been putting out these little titles, and I don't want them to stop doing that. It's a good time for them to experiment and put out those titles, because those titles could potentially end up becoming big IPs and big franchises that eventually become AAA. I think they should continue to do that. But we'll continue. So according to an independent journalist, Miss Yuki, when asked if the quality over quantity approach of the new business plan means no more indie games, Kiryu responded, "If we define indie games as casual, small to medium scale games, we are working hard on these too. I can't name specific titles at the moment, but our development pipelines does not only include major titles. Indie game development should not be ruled out." And that's good. They should not rule it out. And I talked about it before, that in an older video where we had a marketing, or we had one of the execs that used to work at Square was also talking about how, you know, their biggest weakness was not releasing games on multi-platform, and also that they shouldn't stop creating those little titles. Those little titles, like I said before, are very important, because those titles not only help Square Enix, but it also builds future series, future franchises, future like AAA experiences as the titles get popular. And plus, having these AA titles as well, which we also talked about, is a perfect chance to revive old franchises. We talked about it with the Mana series. The Mana series was one of the bigger series back in the day, and they pretty much stopped making them over time. And then they was able to remake Trials of Mana, and then rebuild that popularity once again. And now we got Visions of Mana. So I think this is pretty good, that they should go back and start taking older IP that they haven't played and made in years, like Threads of Fate. I think that would be awesome as well. Bring these franchises back, give them a smaller budget, make it AA, and see where it goes from there. And the fact is that now we got confirmation that no, they're not doing away with this, because many people were afraid that's what's going to happen because of the quality over quantity statement that they had made last year. So it's good that no, they're not doing away with AA titles, which I love. AA titles, like most of my favorite experiences from Square Enix, especially for the past 2 years, was the AA titles. So it's good that they're not doing away with that. So it says, going from this statement, Square Enix new midterm business plan appears to reflect Kiryu's remarks from January this year. The CEO has suggested that Square Enix made a mistake in releasing too many titles that fall between AAA and indie, emphasizing they need to focus on major titles on one side and small scale casual indies like Power Wash Simulator on the other. That incidentally, the same shareholders' questions also include an inquiry as to how many AAA titles Square Enix intends to release per year, but Kiryu did not provide a figure, instead explaining that the company will prioritize making well-timed releases rather than achieving a specific yearly quota. He notes that Square Enix past sales strategies have resulted in game cannibalization of each other. They tend to prevent this from happening by focusing on the timing of the new releases. Yes, for Square Enix to be such a mega corporation, how in the world did they screw up their timing and their releases? I said this before, that was their major problem. Like I said, 2 years ago, they were releasing titles month after month. Like I said, Alive Alive remake. Then we had also got Dealfield Chronicles. Then we have got right after that, we had Valkyrie Elysium right after Alive Alive. And then a week later, we had got Dealfield Chronicle. And then a month later, we had Star Ocean: The Divine Force. It was ridiculous. Like, it was games back to back. And as I said before, even though gamers love their JRPGs, they love their games, but releasing them back to back, some games are going to get lost in the shuffle. They just are, because some games are more popular than others, especially through word of mouth, and then people want to skip out on games and pick them up much later, which also affects the sales of the game. I'm pretty sure Dealfield Chronicles could have did a bit better, even though I love the game. Didn't sell too well, but I'm pretty sure that it could have found its niche. It could have found its market if they would have spaced them out and had put more emphasis on that game itself. I'm pretty sure it would have done well. And I love Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I also reviewed that. I said that before. That was my game of the year that year. Enjoyed every bit of it. But it needs time to breathe, and that was the problem with Square Enix: market cannibalism. They had to do away with that. They had to space their titles out and focus and have more intimate time with promoting that small series, that small franchise, that AA title, in order for it to pretty much have eyes on it and garner a fan base. But other than that, this is some good news to hear that Square Enix is not doing away with AA titles. So I'm looking forward to see what they have cooking in the works, you know, since they can't really talk about it. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about this? Everything about Square Enix and their new strategy, quality over quantity. Are you thinking they're heading into the right direction? Definitely your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.